Hello and welcome to Neverwinter Nights, and this will be part 46. In the previous episode, we lycanthropized a young man and nearly burst into song. Nearly. So, we got some quests to do, and I just ran through the quest log outside of, or the quest journal even outside of recording, and it would appear that everything we have will be connected nicely. So we are likely going to hammer through an awful lot of caves, I was about to say. And that will likely be recorded without me talking at the same time, because I will speed it up so I can squeeze it into one episode as much as possible. I don't necessarily want to do cuts like I did with Castle Jarek. It's just the amount of enemies being there, high hit point enemies, was just getting extremely dull. I like the quest, but I don't necessarily like all the fighting involved. And yes, I know I'm grinding for experience and that requires fighting, but it gets old after a while. When there's nothing to break the monotony, so to speak. So, You see that young troll can just sit there and sit. I don't care about him. He lies to be a noble frontierman, who scoffed at the warnings of lesser men and built this fine tower. Yeah, well, very fine tower, I have to admit. Looks marvelous. I'm not mistaken. Come on. No, it was just locked. I thought it was trapped. Building a tower right next to a troll cave probably wasn't the most intelligent thing in the world. Giant Spain. Let's grab them so you have some bullets. Why not? Anything else we missed here? A coffin. Let's do some grave robbery now we are here. Why not? Got nothing better to do when you're bored on a Sunday afternoon. I won't recommend it, by the way. It's disrespectful and highly illegal. So, anyway, let's see where this cave leads. Solitaire. I'm fairly sure we will be hammering into this area anyway. You know what? I like to start from the top and work my way down. I know it's probably a bit obnoxious to certain people, but I like to be systematic when I know I have to clear caves anyway. So let's be systematic, shall we? That should be the top cave. No, that one, I say. Yeah. We'll find out. If I go the right way, that will help. That's a good start, I suppose. I mean, maybe beneficial. Again, because the monk moves quite quickly, it's not so bad, but it can feel extremely obnoxious when you have other classes that are not moving at the same speed. But as we enter this cave, unless something pops up, I will be staying quiet, at least for a while. And then record all the spelunking thing, whatever it's called. And then do some post-editing voiceover thing. So catch you on the other side of that. Onwards into the cave, and just as I anticipated, there's quite a bit of fighting in here, quite a bit of trolls. You could claim that it's a trolly cave. Ha, ha, ha. You don't have to laugh, it's not required. I know it was a bit stupid, but nonetheless, I like to try to squeeze these extensive areas of pure fighting into one episode by either. I'm not overly keen on do big cuts like I did in the Castle Jarek episode, but at the same time, if I use the guideline of 25 to 30 minutes long episodes and I spend 2.5, 3 episodes just fighting irrelevant monsters, then it's basically wasting everyone's time, and I always have a lot to say and I often always have a lot I can talk about, but maybe some people would rather see some progression in the game rather than just listen to me yap pointlessly, which is probably one of the things I do. Killed the tall chieftain, by the way, but I decided to try and open this chest, and we seem to be back to failing the saving throws against acid. It's not an easy saving throw, so all that being said. But anyway, we got his head and another karma. And then we are back to speeding things up again, because now there's going to be an awful lot of fighting before we see anything remotely interesting. And of course, some bashing of chests and accidentally opening the menu and all that kind of stuff that you do when you're just trying to be as quick as possible. You know, normal screw-ups. One thing I've noticed about the game, it tends to give you class-specific loot as much as possible. Not all the time, but certain specific chests that contain specific sorry, always have a loot item. They tend to be somewhat class relevant. By the way, that journal, you probably couldn't catch it in the sped up video sequence, but it has a certain surname that is very, very similar, actually. Let me rephrase that. It is exactly similar to Dino's surname, so I wonder if that book is some relation of hers. Spoiler, spoiler, it is the target for her henchman questline for chapter 2. The journal we just found. So we will be handling that in later, but anyway, as I was saying, there are specific chests that seem to contain items, and if you play a paladin, you likely find a shield or something similar, or perhaps a nymph cloak, and if you play a monk, you likely find gauntlets and karmas and the like. But it just feels like, that's what I was trying to say before, it feels like the game suddenly run out of loot to give you, and chests that you perhaps would anticipate containing items end up containing gold. The chest loot, chest being a random, a generic term even, chest involves barrels, chests, cabinets, whatever else, anything that needs to be interacted with that can contain loot. The loot is basically random. So if you wanted to, you could reload the game until you get something nice, but there's no point in doing it. I know that you are given specific items for your class. You will bump into upgrades as you go through the game. Naturally, it will give you some sort of upgrade at some point or another. And it's just a question of being patient, or finding a potential vendor that will sell you something nice. And of course, because we're not using weapons or armor of any specific kind, spoiler, spoiler, I will be using the Dark Moon robe through the entire game. Haste on the robe is extremely powerful and extremely beneficial, and there's no reason to lose the haste. So I will be keeping that at all times, but not using weapons and only relying on other miscellaneous items. Item loot that are not, items that are not directly related to being straight upgrades are of absolutely no interest to me or this character specifically, even. But another quest thing we were
Greetings.
asked to deal with. The game refers to him as a simpleton, which I'm not overly keen on. But anyway, his mother was kidnapped, and she's here. She's perfectly safe. She tried to cast. I can't remember. I can't pronounce the spell name, but a resilient sphere on the troll chieftain, but it backfired, and she cast it on herself. And of course, the trolls tried to gnaw at her, claw at her, and whatnot, and they couldn't hurt her. So the ring that her son gave us to confirm to her that it came from him actually had a dispel in it that could dispel that sphere. Very convenient. But anyway, we freed her, and that's another quest done. So we have the brother avenged, and we have the mother freed. She apparently is quite an accomplished caster, so she never really felt endangered by the trolls in any way, shape or form, but we've done a good deed. We've made a young man happy. Even though he's not overly keen on her pulling his ears. That's one thing he was complaining about, and then it dawned on him that he probably shouldn't talk that way about his mother. Anyway, more troll bashing. It is a valuable experience, and of course, grinding is necessary even if you want to level up. Ha! Surprise, surprise. So, getting them 4 and 19 experience at a time, except for the fact when we bump into Troll Shaman, there was 241 experience, so of course you would love to find a handful of those guys, so you could get some more experience. There's one thing that I find odd here, because Diamond Soul is the feat that you get as monk level 11, which makes you immune to poison, but we will bump into some ghasts which has a poison cloud surrounding them. And despite being immune to poison, they still fail, so I don't know whether it is a specific magical poison that bypasses immunities. It is only a temporary loss of constitution. As soon as you are out of the effect of the poison, the constitution returns, so it is a weakening aura. I don't know whether it's just because it had to be classified as something that it's been classified as a poison, but technically isn't a poison, and that's why immunity to poison doesn't work against it. I don't know. Maybe it's just, yeah, some random mechanic that's been added to. Once we punch our way through these caves, we will reach the creator ruins. But I will stop the video at that part, because, or at that point even, because the length of this video is right around the length I prefer to work with. I know I've been flirting with a few 20-minute videos, but then again I've also been flirting with 35-minute videos, so it's just for consistency. I know that some people, they don't mind watching 3-hour long videos, and other people would prefer if the videos stayed around 20 minutes, and I'm just trying to make a happy compromise that works for everyone, and trying to squeeze more content into the videos by doing things like this, which I hope is not too annoying for people to listen to, because of course it sounds like Mickey Mouse on helium. I suppose that can be even quite funny to listen to, but when we do it for half an hour at a time, it may not be overly exciting. You do get into periods of extremely low rolls where it just feels like you're cursed and can't roll higher than 5, and when you are fighting a bunch of enemies and you're not hitting them and they're not hitting you, it can be quite a drawn out slugfest, so to speak. In the previous set of recordings I did of this game, because of course I recorded the full game, I kid you not, I had a group of 5 enemies that couldn't hit me and I couldn't hit them, and that fight took 7 full minutes. It was unbelievable. I was just looking at the recording and thinking, what the hell? No one was damaging anyone, it was just ridiculous. Hilarious, but also ridiculous. So, yeah. Those are the kind of situations I want to limit by speeding things up. I would rather speed up than cut. People can always skip themselves. I think it's better to have the option to watch it if you feel like it, or skip it if you don't feel like watching it. So, by keeping it in, it is the viewer's choice, not my choice. I won't necessarily dictate how my videos are supposed to be watched. I just like making these videos, and I know I may not be the world's best content creator, but I try. And I would do it anyway, because I like making the videos. If I have one person watching them, or 10 people watching them, or a million watching them, which of course will always be nice, but I like doing them, and if someone likes watching them and listen to me yap for hours on end, then no harm in that. I should probably talk a bit more about the game, but quite honestly, right now we are just punching trolls, troll after troll after troll after troll, and yeah. It was character classes. I know Dungeons & Dragons characters, of course. They are they're human, they are elves, they are dwarves, they are whatever else they might be, but they are not entirely normal, because of course you can have a blacksmith that's been working the forge for 20 years, having a strength of 12, and then you have this 16-year-old adventurer, the strength of 20. So they are not exactly normal characters as such. But when I was doing martial arts, we were doing training sessions where we had someone running around with punch pads, and we took turns chasing that person just to give the illusion of a mobile fight. And after 3 minutes, you're dead. Absolutely dead. It's something that you can build up over time, of course, stamina, but I mean, you gotta respect the boxers that can go in and take 12 rounds against each other and still be standing on their feet, because I would have collapsed 8 times, I think. Fun to do. I fully enjoyed it. It was good fun. If I'm having a good time, I find it very easy to giggle like a 4-year-old schoolgirl. And that was not trying to archetype anyone, but you know what I mean. So, irrelevant of my age, I don't really care about the fact that I'm closing in on the 50 marker. Not that close, I've still got a year to go, but you know, getting there. And if something makes me feel happy, I will express my happiness, and why wouldn't I? If it bothers someone, then they are obviously a lot more miserable than me, and expressing yourself, as long as it's not a nuisance to anyone else, I suppose, is never a bad thing. So, a locked door. Quite a strong locked door, I'd say. We hammer it for quite a while before we get to it, but then we fight some 4 XP ogres. Good fun. By the way, my point when I told myself away from haha because I'm good at doing that was that these characters being able to punch for hours on end, yeah, quite the stamina. I know I couldn't do it. I suppose those kind of games has been made already with virtual reality, some sort of sword fighting games and things like that. That could be interesting playing something like this, fighting all these mobs, monsters, whatever you call them, and have to use motion control. So yeah. On the Wii, I have a boxing game which, of course, use the motion controls from the Wii, and going a handful of rounds against other boxers. It's very likely very good exercise, but damn, it wears you out. So, of course, my fitness level is not necessarily even remotely close to average. It is decidedly low, and that is my own fault. It used to be quite a bit higher than it is now. So, we're finally reaching the last troll cave level before we bump into the creative ruins, but we still have quite a few enemies to go, and among them a few shaman, which of course because of the XP they give are quite nice to fight. I've mentioned it before about the challenge rating, because of course that's what signifies how much experience you earn from an enemy. It is a bit wonky because the shaman are no more dangerous than any other troll. But because they're spellcasters and because they potentially could do nasty things, they are worth. I have to calculate, it was difficult. 12 times more experience than their normal brethren, which doesn't make much sense, but I don't mind. No complaints here. These are the undead I was talking about that has this poison, non-poison aura around them, as you can see. Reduced constitution, so I had to fail it, but it should recover very, very quickly. It's not something that needs to be cured by using restoration. You can do it, but it's overkill and wasteful, so. Section versus good. Yeah, good luck with that. That is definitely a vendor item because you're very, very unlikely to fight much, or many, I should say, opponents are good. Of the enemies you can fight, I know of one that is good, but I would not recommend fighting that one opponent, and that is because of, not because the opponent is excessively tough, that's one thing, but another thing is it's a very special opponent, and I don't think you would necessarily fight such an opponent. But we are nowhere near that point yet. It will become readily apparent when we get there, what I'm referring to, and I shall make a mental note of remembering to note back to this episode. Anyway, we bump into some random person who has lost his mind seeing his friends being killed and eaten by the trolls, which I suppose it would probably make people a bit weird. Probably not the most pleasant experience in the world, but we blocked the way so he can't get out, but he finally managed to get out. And we have some more fighting. As you've probably gathered by now if you've watched more than one episode, this game is very heavy on the fighting random nothing. I'm saying nothing because it's not story relevant, it's only there to give a sense of a living, breathing world, and of course to give you something to do while running around. On a personal note, if I'm going from point A to point B, I would prefer to just go from point A to point B. I don't necessarily need to be stopped every 5 seconds fighting stuff. I'll do it for the experience because the monk is a class that benefits extremely well from leveling, and therefore getting every single point of experience is valuable. But I've never been much of a player of games like the earlier Final Fantasy because random encounters to that extent that you bump into in those kind of games just gets on my wick. When you're trying to move from one location to another and you have to fight 25 times on the way there, or run from fights 25 times on the way there, it gets extremely boring. I know there are items that will reduce or remove the chance of getting into random encounters, but yeah. I'm getting a decent chunk of loot from doing this. Sapphires, if you're going to get sapphires, they are quite valuable, and they have no purpose outside of just being vended. So the crafting items that you do use are distinctively unique. They are things like dragon blood, blessed holy water, or special holy water, I think it's called, fairy dust, and that kind of thing. You will not mistake any other crafting component, or non-crafting component, I should rather say, as a potential crafting component, because they are distinctively distinct. So I hope that my random yapping wasn't overly boring and tedious and all that stuff, but we are coming up towards the end of this video. I will just go down to confirm that it is indeed the creator ruins, and then go back up and end the episode. So, on that note, thanks for watching. Take care. See you next time. Bye bye for now.